Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/AITA. In today's episode, AITA for yelling at a kid for crawling under my table at a restaurant? AITA for refusing to eat a smash cake? AITA for telling my teacher, would you rather I bled on your white chair, in front of the class? Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. AITA for yelling at a kid for crawling under my table at a restaurant? My friend Jack and I, after a long stressful week, like to go to the local pizza place. It's not fine dining by any stretch of the imagination, but there are booths and tables of people sitting down. I see a large table near us of like 10 people, a few couples and bunch of small kids between like 4 and 8, and the kids are running around the restaurant being loud while the adults are drinking wine and eating their pizza. I ignore the commotion for like 20 minutes when suddenly, I feel like a hand on my leg and one of the little kids is crawling under Jack and my table. I wasn't thinking and snapped at the kid and said, "Get away from our table," and the kid ran away and burst into tears. One of the parents at the other table came over and started tearing into me about how cranky and mean I was and how dare I yell at her kid, who was just playing. Meanwhile, her and the other middle-aged 40-something parents are letting their kids run amok and be loud and obnoxious while my friend and I are trying to enjoy a night out. I ripped her a new one and said, "How entitled do you need to be to think it's okay to let your kids just crawl under other people's tables?" She called me an asshole and walked away in a huff. NTA. Her exhaustion/boundaries/parental philosophy create no obligations for you. Your personal space was invaded, you reacted to repair that. Agreed, NTA. Her inability to control her own kids does not mean you have to parent for her in her place. If the kid was just walking up to Opie and trying to talk, yelling wouldn't be necessary, but this kid crossed boundaries that should have been learned multiple years ago. NTA 40-something mom to a 4 and 2 years old here. Ooh, hell no. That is outrageous behavior. You were perfect. NTA. You are not a jungle gym, and your table is not a play place. Restaurant is not a play place. There are hot and sharp stuff a lot there. I've seen kids run and hit a server carrying 3 plates of food. Guess where the food went? Look at my username. Now, I am going to say you are NTA. People should not let their kids be crawling around on the floor under their own table, nonetheless someone else's. NTA. People who don't scold their kids shouldn't be surprised when their kids get scolded by strangers, especially if they are just letting their kids go around and invade people's personal space. You didn't do anything wrong, and the mom and all the rest of those parents are all major AHs. NTA. Someone's gotta teach the kid they can't do whatever they want, and it apparently won't be their parents. Invading a stranger's personal space and touching them is a big enough deal to warrant being told off immediately and harshly. I agree. That child learned the hard way. He will probably never do that again. Yeah, one of those lessons is people sometimes have automatic reactions they can't control when you surprise them because they aren't inanimate objects and have reflexes and personal histories and brain chemistry and all sorts of things going on. On behalf of all restaurant workers everywhere, thank you for yelling at the mom. It's been years since I worked in a restaurant, but the rage from watching people let their kids run around unsupervised never really goes away. NTA. Dude, a kid ran into me while I had a tray of drinks. Luckily, I balanced it, but imagine if I didn't? Kid could have been seriously hurt. I now work in a school, and these kids are so entitled because their parents will raise hell for any teacher that says no. NTA. Her child is not entitled to invade your personal space and physically touch your person any more than you would be entitled to do the same. She needs to get a grip. She didn't want her kid yelled at. She should have been parenting her own child. I was yelled at by a stranger as a kid, and that hit harder than my mom yelling, since I heard it all the time. He just did everyone a favor by snapping. That kid probably won't do it again, I'd bet. Restaurants are not a playground anyways, unless you're at a playpen McDonald's. NTA. NTA, you are a stranger to that kid. The kid should not have been going under random tables, and the parents obviously weren't watching the child. He also could have been hurt under your table. This is what I was thinking. If I randomly felt a hand on my leg under the table, my first instinct would be to kick. That kid could have gotten seriously injured. NTA, if you don't want strangers shouting at your kids, don't let them climb under strangers' tables. These parents baffle me. It only takes one creep to decide to leave the restaurant with your kid, or someone to accidentally kick them and cause them injury. I like kids so much I made my own, but that doesn't mean I want someone else's, or even mine for that matter, climbing about under the table whilst I'm trying to eat. AITA for refusing to eat a smash cake? Yesterday was my nephew's first birthday, and my sister and BIL had a little get-together at their house. When it was time for cake, they brought out my nephew's smash cake, exactly what it sounds, a cake for the baby to smash up and get icing all over themselves for cute pictures or whatever. I kind of imagined that it would be the size of a big cupcake, but they brought out a regular-sized round birthday cake. I just kind of figured they splurged and still expected the cake to just be for him to play around with. But after my nephew had gone at this cake with his bare hands and stuck his whole face in it, my sister started scooping up the mangled remains and distributing servings to everyone, just a handful of family members. And everyone else was actually eating it. I declined because, seriously? I didn't want to eat something that has had a baby's grubby hands and body all over it, and I was surprised that anyone else did. My sister insisted I take a portion, and I said, really, no, that's gross. Now, I probably wouldn't have used the word gross if I wasn't on the spot, but I was not at all prepared to have to politely decline to eat baby spit. My sister was very hurt by that and told me later, on a phone call that I thought was way longer than it needed to be for the severity of the infraction, that she thought I was being extremely judgmental, that it wasn't a big deal, we're all family, don't participate if I really don't want to, but don't call her gross, etc. NTA. Smash cakes are supposed to be only for smashing and for the baby to eat. There is usually a second, non-smashed cake for adults to eat, or the adults are just adults about it and don't eat any cake. I've never heard of someone trying to serve a smashed cake to adults. NTA, that is so gross. My daughter is turning 1 next month, and we plan to have a small cupcake as her smash cake and other cupcakes for everyone else. We would never even think of having everyone eat the smash cake. Ugh. Yep. I can't imagine eating a cake with baby drool all over it. Plus, babies literally touch everything, so we don't know where those hands have been. NTA. 100% NTA. A smash cake is for the child. There should have been a regular cake for consumption by the partygoers. It's ridiculous to think people, even if they are family, want to eat something another person has mangled. Also, kids' hands are gross. Babies' teeth and have their hands in their mouths all the time. I won't even eat little kids' birthday cakes where they just blow out candles. They spit all over them when they blow out the candles. It is gross. I don't get this. Just cut the cake and let the kids smash up a piece. That's what my parents did way back yonder when I was a kid, before a separate smash cake was a thing. NTA. That's disgusting. Next time she's over for dinner, serve a cake for dessert, but desecrate it first and then be upset when she doesn't want to eat it. Or maybe just scoop their pasta with your hands. Why do people think they can force someone to compromise their health to be polite? It is gross. It's gross and unsanitary. This is petty, and I love it, lol. NTA. That was gross. Children are petri dishes for whatever types of viruses and bacteria out there. The polite thing to do is have a small smash cake for the baby and another cake for other guests. As for the others eating the cake, that is their choice. So your choice to not eat it should be respected. Especially since COVID is still a real risk to people's health, everyone is more conscious about who they're around and what they consume. NTA, OP. NTA. My mom caught COVID from me despite all of our best efforts to stay safe, and she didn't make it. We're all family means nothing when it comes to germs. And besides that, it is gross. Maybe you could have phrased it better, but would she have accepted that or kept pushing until you had no choice but to say it anyway? I'm so sorry for your loss, that's awful. And I completely agree that if OP had phrased it more with more subtlety, or more politely, their sister would have just kept pushing. I'm so sorry for your loss. It's weird that some people seem to have learned nothing from the pandemic. However, eating a cake covered in baby drool would have been revolting even before. I said, really, no, that's gross. NTA. I've seen smash cakes a huge bunch of times and never once have I seen someone offer the smash cake to others. So not only is it gross, it's also pretty weird as well. Don't blame you for the gross part either, I do react the same. You said this out loud while reading. OP, you were not even a little rude, you had to decline twice, what they did was unsanitary at best, you are so NTA. NTA. That is gross and she should have just left it when you declined the first time. No is a complete sentence. You did nothing wrong after she refused to acknowledge your answer. I agree, sister pushed the issue when OP declined. It's kind of on her that OP called her gross. If you aren't prepared to hear why someone doesn't want the cake, don't keep pressing the issue. Definitely NTA. I thought a smash cake was literally that, a cake for the baby to smash. Everyone else eats a sheet cake or whatever. NTA. That's exactly what a smash cake is. A cheap alternative cake just for the baby/toddler so that the good cake for everyone doesn't get, well, smashed. Exactly, I have never heard of / seen someone trying to serve up the cake mush after the baby's been at it. Even if you put aside the ick factor, it's particularly wild that anyone would do this in a post-COVID world. Emo. AITA for telling my teacher, would you rather I bled on your white chair, in front of the class? I 14F got my period in class. We weren't doing anything important, so I asked to leave for the restroom. For context, this teacher is known for being very irritable. He refused, so I told him I had a genuine need to go, but he mocked me, saying, oh, so you have to go in front of the class? I asked again calmly, and he again said no. At this point the room was silent, so I got stressed under the pressure. I was being laughed at, and I snapped, well, would you rather I bled all over your white chair? He was visibly angry but let me go. When I got back to class he seemed annoyed still, so I'm not sure if I overreacted. AITA? Beautiful answer. He was being unreasonable. NTA. Absolutely this. Good for you, OP. I'm glad you're not shy to speak of natural bodily functions, as some people are, especially at your age. NTA. NTA. Using the restroom isn't a privilege. 100% this. NTA. Absolutely NTA. It really irritates me how many teachers think kids can just hold in their period. They just assume every time they want to go to the bathroom it is to waste time. NTA. I hate the education system for making the restroom a privilege for students. I have yet to meet a teacher who withheld these so-called privileges from students who didn't turn out to be an asshole. NTA and report him to administration. Refusing to let you use the facilities and embarrassing you in front of the class is not cool. Will administration actually do something? Public schools are practically prisons. Unfortunately, my admins hated that I let students use the restroom in the middle of class. It was a huge school rule that they could only restroom in the 4-minute passing periods, draconian AF. I would always say to students that I wasn't explicitly allowing it, but they were free to do what they needed to do for their health, i.e., just go. NTA. He's on a power trip, your answer was perfect. I once did this at your age, albeit not about my period. I needed to urinate badly, I misjudged how much water I should drink on a hot day, and I didn't regularly ask to use the bathroom during lessons. It was a sports lesson, with the narkiest teacher in the school. We were even resting in our teams, whilst other teams took over, there was never enough equipment. I'd already crossed my legs, whilst it was my team's turn. So I then asked the teacher if I could go to the toilet. She said no. So I asked her if I could go and get a mop. She asked why. I told her because she'd need it in a minute if I couldn't use the toilet. Schools need clear policies, rather than teachers arbitrarily making random judgments. That just ends up in those in genuine need of the toilets having to suffer/be embarrassed. And meanwhile, the kids messing around will be enabled by the more lenient teachers. It's a period, and honestly, as a man, I'm so sick of other men that are blind and oblivious that women ask to use bathrooms all the time because of this. His inability to understand and being uncomfortable about the fact that women often need to change tampons/pads or even just freshen up should not and should never be your problem. Good on you for calling him out on his BS. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.